His lifelong dream was truly not to be a policeman at first. He wanted to be a garbage man. Yes, he did. And
when he was little,
when he was little, and he used to take glasses of Kool-Aid out to the garbage men when they made every Thursday. Here they come, and out would go Jimmy.
We went camping and couldn't find him. I'm in the garbage truck and he's in the front seat. He'd drive it. About what, 4 years old, 5 years old?
And do you know what? One of the things him and his friend Paul did when they were in the service to make extra money was work on a garbage truck by Aberdeen Proving Ground for a town that's close there. They used to do it. They both had cars on the base, and they had to put the gas in the cars, so they took that job.
$9 an hour.
Yeah, back then.
That was good money.
Money back money.
Did he ever say why he wanted to be?
They'd sleep in the garbage truck for
Why
2
he
or 3
wanted to
hours
be
and then
a
work.
garbage man?
Yeah.
No.
Because he loved it. Those guys were so nice to him. They were. And he'd bring him that Kool-Aid. He was a really good kid. And he loved people, always loved people. Remember
somebody
that?
had in there when he met Tammy at Wendy's. I saw that someplace, or somebody told me they worked together.
We don't know who told them that, but
Yep.
because nobody had
Men's
talked
wife.
to anybody. I had 3 girls, and then had Jimmy. And I always thought I spoiled him.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
And when he got in trouble, I thought it was all my fault for spoiling him. But it seems like things turned out okay.
So Mom spoiled him a lot?
Oh, well.
He was the
Tell him the
youngest
school
and the
story.
only boy. What do you think?
Yes. Now, you know what, though? He was the only one of us that got a speeding ticket before he turned 18, and look what he became, a policeman.
He liked fast cars.
And he thought he was older than he was, so he could get his driver's license sooner. He tried to convince everybody he was born earlier.
Most of the time he was there.
You girls loved your dad, didn't you?
Carol, and then when Misty was born, he came over, remember, and gave the baby to Carol, and then tried to now, Mom, you got to hold her head, and you got to, and she goes, Jimmy, I think
He was so happy when
He
he
was
was,
so
for all of
happy.
his children, but he was so happy with that baby.
Yep, telling his mother.
Yeah. I mean, he just was excited. I never thought I would see that side of him, that he was so excited about being a dad.
Yep. And he worked 1, 2, 3 jobs.
He worked all the time, that's one thing. He wanted to provide a good living for his family. He wanted his girls to have everything. And his wife also worked. And one of the reasons that he worked the shift he did was to put his little girl, and the neighbor kids too, on the school bus in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah.
That's why he was working in the evening
His
from
youngest
6 to
Bailey.
6. Yes.
Yeah,
For his
he'd
youngest
always
daughter,
be there to
Bailey.
put Bailey on the school bus, but then a couple neighbor, because I would be there sometimes if he had to leave early or something, the neighbor kids would come and he'd put them on the bus also.
He would not let us stand outside and wait for the bus. If it was raining or too cold or anything, he'd make us go sit in the car with him at the bus stop.
Yeah, always made sure they were protected.
So you say your dad was very protective of you, and
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Ask Taylor if he was.
Okay, Taylor, do we have to hear your side of it?
yeah.
All right, I have one story.
He never learned Taylor's name.
There's this one time, he came home from work, and I had fingernail polish on my fingernails. Oh my God! I saw him, and I was so scared. I was hiding my fingers. I was hiding them. And I was trying to make him not see him. He's like, Taylor, what's that on your finger? I was like, I showed him, and he's like, you better get that off. And I was like, okay.
And the reason you put nail polish on your fingernails?
See, I was kind of curious. He was in the military, military police.
Yes.
What army post did he train at?
Aberdeen Proving Ground. And I got a phone call, Dad, my speedometer quit, and he makes noise. And I was at the shop and I was reading Popular Mechanics, and if you run them Mustangs over 115, 20 mile an hour, the speedometer recurl. Him and a Corvette was racing 138 mile an hour on radar, And he says, I beat him, Dad. Is my speedometer fixed?
Oh, my other favorite story, with the girls getting older and the boys coming around. I don't know how they got me involved in this story, but Misty wanted to know, the oldest, if it was okay for her to have boys up in her bedroom, because it was a fight with her dad, and she had called her dad.
Said no, right?
Yes, her mother had said no. Her dad said, Misty, open up your bedroom window, because if I come home and find a boy up there, he's going out it. That pretty much told her that's what her answer was.
Yeah.
But Misty, that's the oldest one, and she graduates this year. I tried to tell her when I went there after we found out. She was in bed, and I tried to talk to her about the Lord. And sometimes when you're young, that happens, but she didn't want to hear it. She said, Grandma, my dad is my best friend, and I can't go on without him.
He was talking to you because he knew absolutely everyone.
That's what I'm finding out too. Everybody in Elyria knew Jimmy either from growing up, working with him, seeing him. Everybody knew him.
And he talked, I know he worked at Mark's as a security person, but he was the type of kid that couldn't just do nothing. So he packed the groceries. And I have friends say, I saw your son packing groceries at Mark's. I said, I know.
Well, and I'd go by sometimes at Mark's. Well, when I'd come in, he'd be out there helping some old lady through the snow take her bags. And I'd say, well, what about me? He's like, yeah, right.
You're my sister.
Yeah.
But we had a guest speaker, and we all went in the other room, and they set up tables and chairs for us. And while we were sitting there, much to my surprise, the person who showed up was Officer Jim Kerstetter to give the lecture about drugs and how one person that he knew had a business and was thriving, but got into drugs and lost everything, and that it wasn't worth it. And I was surprised, and of course he said Officer Jim Kerstetter, and I had no idea that that's who was coming. At the end, we filled out a survey about how the speaker was and if it impacted you or anything. And a lot of people came up to me and said, hey, your brother's pretty cool. He tells it like it is. He was good at explaining things and the different stuff. So he just wanted to get the message out to different people. And
did you give him good marks on the survey?
Yes.
I wish he would be here wrestling right now. I know.
We used to wrestle on the floor. Jimmy and I think it started with Jimmy and I.
Yeah.
Because we would wrestle on the floor and we would go back and forth, and my mom would be yelling, what's wrong with you? Are you being heathens? And my dad would be in the background. He's kind of laughing, and my mom would look over and just see those eyes laughing a little bit. And she'd go, and you're the reason they're doing it because you're encouraging it by laughing. And he does it with his daughters now, and it just was a fun thing. My mom said, we were today at the funeral home, she said, I would love to see you two just wrestling on that floor right now and me yelling at you to stop it. I've taught at Jefferson and at Roosevelt. They would take, the first graders usually would take a walking field trip down to the police department. And Jimmy always happened to be the tour guide. So he'd go on, and then he'd say, well, do you know Mrs. Sawyers? And the kids are like, oh, yeah, I had her in kindergarten. And they'd be talking about it. He goes, she drives a broom. Go ask her if she drives a broom. And I would always know. I'd never know when that field trip day was. But Buddy, I figured it out after they came back from that field trip, because they go, I hear you drive a broom. Do you drive a broom? I go, did you see Officer Kerstetter? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh. He came, and I teach at Spring Valley now, and he came and talked to the Girl Scouts at Spring Valley. And again, he popped in, and I didn't know he was coming in. And as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh, tomorrow's not going to be a good day. And sure enough, those kids would come in that next day and say, do you have a broom? Where do you park your broom?
To read the comments people posted on different places, and I read the one from the mother that said, you know, Jimmy really gave her kid a break when he was in his troubled teen years, and he's made it through, and he's doing good. You know, that's how he was.
I mean, we just, I think we're all heartbroken, and we're just, I don't even know the words to describe how we feel about everything that everybody in this community has done for our family. It's so way over our head, and although we're upset about it, inside we are just gleaming at the fact that Jimmy touched that many people, and they want to help him, and they want to acknowledge us. So I think it all goes back to our parents, because they have done a great job raising us.